Hi again, everybody. It's Kevin Knessa coming to you from the newsroom of The Observer and TheObserver.com on this, the 28th day of March in the year 2022. Sure hope you enjoyed your Monday, no matter where it is you are in the country. Here in the Northeast, a very winter-like day in the first full week of spring. So hope you're tolerating this cold weather. They're saying there could be some snow squalls tonight in different parts of North Jersey. So be careful if you're out on the roads, especially because those conditions can be very, very dangerous when they come out of nowhere and you're driving. So we'll see what happens, of course, later tonight. Hopefully it won't happen. And, of course, it'll be 70-something degrees on Thursday. So just a weird month as it is already. As you do every Monday night, you welcome me into your home so that I might bring you this week's news. And as you can see from the front page this week, the search for spring. And it's kind of interesting given the nature of the weather. But here's the thing. The Cherry Blossom Festival is starting April 1st or the 2nd. I can't think off the top of my head right now, but it's in the store. You'll check that out. And this year, it's the first Cherry Blossom Festival since 2019 because it was, of course, canceled in 2020 when COVID first began and out of abundance of caution last year as well. So that returns to Essex County Branch Brook Park in Newark and Belleville next week. And this picture that you see is one of our absolute favorites here at The Observer. It was taken by our Lisa Fiorenzo in 2018. We were driving around, as we do every year. Once a year we go over, and we take pictures of what's blooming in Branch Brook Park. And by chance, we stopped right at this spot, and we caught this woman who was standing there at a canvas painting what's behind in front of her. And we're wondering who she is. We never stopped at the time to ask for her name. We didn't want to bother her. She was in the middle of doing the painting. It was a gorgeous day. There was a lot of people around that day. So we were, of course, wondering who she is. We want to interview her because she looks like she has a beautiful canvas there that she did back in 2018, but we don't know who she is. So the chance is that she may be watching. We're hoping she's a local woman who may be watching this, or somebody may know who it is, or if it's her and she's looking at the paper, give us a call over at the office. The number's 201-991-1600. But if you know who it is, maybe if you can tell by zooming in, you can't really make out her facial features. But we'd just like to know who she is and why she was doing what she was doing. And, of course, it's all happening 4 years later. Hard to believe 2018 was already 4 years ago. But, again, the Cherry Blossom Festival begins next week. And actually, it's this weekend. I take that back. And the cherry blossoms are just beautiful when they're in full bloom. So we've got a few right here out in front of the office. There's a whole bunch in Kearney, too. But Belleville's, of course, the claim to fame is that there are more here in Belleville than in Washington, D.C., even though they try to say otherwise down in the nation's capital. So check that out when you get a chance. Sticking in Belleville, on page number 2, a farmer's market is coming to Belleville this year. First one ever, and it's going to be one Saturday a month starting in June. So check out that story on page number 2. And then, of course, Watt is putting on Almost Maine this weekend, and that is Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, April 1, 2, and 3. So hopefully you go out and support Watt and see the show at the American Legion Post 99 at 314 Belgrove Drive. I know they put a lot of work into this production, and it will be phenomenal, as all of their performances always are. I had mentioned on the website on Friday and on social media as well that Councilwoman Sue McCurry, who has been a representative of the 4th Ward of Kearney since 2004, will not seek re-election this year. Her seat's up for grabs now, and she will not run again. So for the first time in 18 years, she will no longer be a member of the Kearney Town Council. Sue is one of the nicest people in the world. She truly is. She was chairwoman of the Ordinance Committee. She's a lawyer, so she knows the law, and she knows how to craft laws. And she's also been, as far as I'm concerned, the greatest elected official for the environment that Kearney has ever known. She is the founding member of Kearney ACES, the Environmental Sustainability Committee, and she has left a legacy that will be very, very hard to match and or surpass. So from all of us at The Observer, we wish Sue well in her future life. She's still going to be around, and I'm sure she'll be involved as well, just not as an elected official. And what that leaves the race to is she had mentioned she is going to support a candidate whose name I'm about to butcher. His name is Stathis Theodoropoulos. And if you ask me to spell that, I will get it wrong, so I'm not going to spell it. But he is a 35-year-old Kearney resident who has no elected experience, but an impressive resume. You can find that out for yourself. That's who she intends on supporting, and I believe the Democratic Party. To this point, one other person has also announced running for this seat, and that is Sidney J. Ferreira, who many of you will remember last year ran for mayor of the town of Kearney. He's back in this race, but it's now going to be a question of whether he will run as a Democrat in the primary or as an independent candidate in November. And I don't know yet, and I don't think that's something that he's decided on yet. But when we know, when Sidney tells us, we will let you know whether Sid's going to run as a Democrat or as an independent candidate. The thing about running as an independent is you don't have to worry about the primary. The turnout's notoriously low. And if you run as an independent, you don't have to get your petitions in until the day of the primary, until 4 o'clock that day on the day of the primary in June. So that would give him more time to gather signatures if he decides to run as an independent. The only difficulty when you run as an independent is very rarely, at least in this town, has an independent candidate ever won. In fact, I can't think of an independent candidate who has run and won. So we'll see what happens there. Very, very interesting race that is going to be. And again, not to belabor it, we certainly wish Sue McCurry all the best in her time as she begins to prepare for retirement from the Kearney Town Council. Now, any of you who are regulars here know that TheObserver.com has had its share of trouble lately, and I explained it briefly last week, but what it turns out is that the company that hosted our website previously, we believe, based on what we learned from a WordPress and web expert, was that our site was never, ever actually hacked, but instead the company that hosted the website used us as pawns to make money and charge for unnecessary, exclusive security that we probably didn't even need by putting malware on the site themselves. Now, because of that, we switched hosting companies. The website is now hosted by a company called Fixed, FIXED.net. They are British-based, and they have been nothing short of amazing as we migrated the site from our old hosting company to them. The site is completely clean. It's scanned every single day now for malware. If somehow it gets on there, it will be removed forthwith, but we are not anticipating any problems. What happened, though, was in the process of this, Google and some of the security companies identified our site as dangerous. And some of you will know because when you went to Facebook or Twitter, it said that you couldn't get to our links anymore. You should be able to now. And I'm happy to report, based on all we've learned, that at no point was anybody in jeopardy anyway. We were identified that way falsely, and we are very happy to no longer be with that company that doesn't do such good business, truthfully. So if you want to know what the name of the company is, let us know. We'll tell you, but we're not going to announce it on the air because that's how vicious they seem to be. We're concerned of what they might do in the future. So, but if you're curious, just drop me an email, kc@theobserver.com. I'll be happy to tell you what the name of the company was that used to host our site. But again, you should have no issues anymore going to theobserver.com, and we apologize for the inconveniences that this caused since December. But we're in good shape now. The KUEZ's sidewalk sale and garage sale is coming up in a few weeks, and registration is open and will be until the 21st of April. So if you live in town and you want to have a garage sale when they have the townwide yard sale, which takes place April 30th and May 1st, you can do so by registering with the KUEZ. All the addresses and phone numbers and websites to call are in the story, and you will not have to pay for a permit. Whereas if you have a garage sale or a yard sale, whatever it is, in other times you have to pay a permit to do so and get a permit, but you don't have to do it for this weekend sale. It's always a nice time of year because it's getting warmer whenever the sale is. It's a little bit earlier than usual. It was late last year because of COVID. Didn't happen in 2020. So it's always a nice thing when this happens and a good sign that spring is close. You Text, You Drive, You Pay is underway. Beginning April 1st, it will be in force in Harrison and East Newark. So far as we know now, we'll let you know if any of the other towns in our readership area are participating, but they have received grants for overtime to have stricter enforcement out there for the people who decide, boneheadedly enough, to text and drive. I just can't imagine that people do it. I don't even like talking on the phone when I'm driving, let alone texting, but people somehow do it. And it's a very dangerous thing, and if during this month you're out there doing it, there will be extra patrols in East Newark and Kearney trying to East Newark and Harrison trying to find you. I think I remember John Taylor saying before he retired that Kearney was participating too, but I haven't been able to confirm that just yet. Tim Wagner has a Kearney police blotter, as he does every week, and has a story about a man who swung a mallet at somebody after this truck driver wouldn't move his truck. He was blocking somebody else, and then when he was asked to move it, he came swinging at this guy with the mallet. So check out this week's blotter from Kearney. Very interesting. This morning, I got a phone call from Mike Horton, a lieutenant who is the PIO for the North Arlington Police Department. He wanted me to know that Chief Scott Hendenberg was very pleased that the North Arlington Police Department have cleared a whole bunch of crimes that involve property, breaking into cars, trespassing, things of that nature. There's been about 6 or 7 arrests since January. And Lieutenant Horton sent over the blotter, and some pretty decent crimes were solved by the NAPD between the police officers themselves and the Detective Bureau. So I hope you'll check that out on page number 8. And I want to thank Chief Hendenberg and Lieutenant Horton for sending those over this morning. We were fortunately able to get them in. In sports this week, Jason Bernstein, our new sports reporter, has a story about the end to the St. Peter's magical run that ended last night at the hands of the University of North Carolina. What a shame that it all had to come to a close, but Cinderellas don't often last forever, but in this case it was a tough 69-49 loss the Peacocks had to UNC, and UNC had pretty much control of the game from the outset. I think it was 7-0 to start off, so it was really, really rough for them. But he's got a story again about Doug Eddard of Nutley, this young man who has inspired an entire nation. What he's done has just been nothing short of remarkable, and it's the same really of all the members of the team, but we have a connection to Doug Eddard, and we are so grateful to him for what he did. He has been an inspiration to many people, not just in this area, but across the tri-state area and in the country. So take a look at that. He also has a preview of the Kearney High School softball team and the Harrison High School volleyball team. So Jason Bernstein is certainly getting right into the thick of things as the sports season for the spring gets closer and closer. In fact, April 1st, I think, is opening day. So we'll see what happens there. And there's a whole bunch of things happening in the world of sports. 2 pages of classifieds as we do every single week. And if you're looking for an apartment, if you're looking for a job, there's plenty you will find in this week's edition of The Observer in the classified section. So check those out today. And that's going to do it for this week's edition of The Observer Live. And I want to thank each and every one of you for logging on and joining me today. Hope you all have a good week ahead as it progressively gets warmer in the 70s on Thursday. Not as warm on Friday, but still we'll take it on Thursday. If anything happens during the course of the week, we will join you live to bring that to you. And until then, we'll see you back here 1 week from tonight. From the newsroom of The Observer and TheObserver.com, it's Kevin Canessa signing off for now, and we hope to see you back here again very, very soon. Good night, everybody.